Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Little did I know that you and I would be seeing each other today. I've said quite often that you never know what you're going to wake up to. And what we all woke up to today is just unspeakable. It's tragic. It's something that needs to be addressed. Now, I'm going to need some help from some of the Canadians watching. Uh, I've gotten emails from Canadians who tell me that not much is being said to you on your media up there with regard to the war in Israel. And as a result, I decided to come on and try to give you an update on that, as well as people across the United States to give them an idea as to what's going on there and what we need to do as a country. So we're going to get right to it, folks. And I see our social media platforms on Facebook, on YouTube, on CloudHub, on Rumble, they're starting to fill up. So you could always, if you've missed any part of my remarks, you could always play these recordings back after they're posted. Now, to begin with, folks, we woke up this morning to an unbelievable tragedy happening in the Mideast, an unprecedented, unwarranted, unnecessary, unprovoked attack against the state of Israel. Between 2,000 and 5,000 missiles were rained down upon that country. Civilian targets, folks, purposely civilian targets. And what was worse than that, folks, is that not only was there an air attack by missiles, but there were terrorists, Hamas terrorists, were hand gliding into Israel, landing. And then there was also what we could call as ground troops crossing the border into Israel. Now, one may think that they would want to fight, or let's put it this way, one would think that they would meet a military force that would repel them. Something happened there with regard to that issue, but I'll get to that in a minute. But what they did do with these thugs, these terrorists, these cowards, because you can only call these Hamas terrorists, or any terrorists, as cowards, they went door to door. They went door to door, and they began killing men, women, and children, families, slaughtering them. They went so far as to kill their pets, their dogs, their cats, you name it. These thugs, these punks, these terrorists went in there with the idea that they were going to kill every living Israeli. And that's exactly what they did. The Israeli people did the best they could to defend themselves. Many were killed. I understand the Israeli police and were killed. Some military were taken captured. Don't know if any of them were killed, but this certainly was something that neither Israel nor the United States was prepared for, according to our military intelligence sources here in America. So the question that a lot of people are asking is, how could this happen to Israel? Now, I was in Israel some time ago, and I could tell you, it is the most secure country on earth. Their borders are very secure. Their military is strong. So that's a question that remains to be answered. What in the world happened here? So the Israeli government is going to be looking into that. But I can tell you their first priority is now to go and find out where the hostages are. Many hostages were taken. God knows what's happening to those Israelis. And the military, that is the Israeli military, is in 22 locations in that country fighting these thugs, these terrorists, these cowards, in an attempt to rescue their people. Now, I'm going to just roll this back a little bit. And let's look at a little recent history. And it's important that we state facts, folks. We can't hide anything, all right? This government of the United States under Biden is a disaster. And they're beginning to hide something, I believe, that we need to at least question. We need the media in America to question and to go after. Number one, do you remember, folks, just a few weeks ago, Joe Biden released $6 billion to Iran. And Joe Biden and that ridiculous administration he has told the American people, in fact, told the world that the Iranians agreed to use it for humanitarian reasons. That was Washington, D.C.'s Biden administration statement. Well, the Iranians came out and said, we'll do what we want with our money. Nobody dictates to the Iranian government how they're going to use their money. Well, it appears, folks, that they just spent some of that money on arms, on ammunition, on missiles, on everything that you see happening in Israel today. It seems like it was delivered by the Iranians after Joe Biden released $6 billion. Now, in addition to that, remember, connected to that $6 billion was what? The release of a hostage or two. Remember that? Well, we call that ransom, folks. Joe Biden paid a ransom, at least in our view. The White House is going to deny it. They already have. That we paid a ransom for these hostages. So now you got these thugs, these punks, these cowards named Hamas. They decide to go in and take Israelis hostage, believing maybe that somebody's going to pay a ransom. But Israel is not the United States. The Israel government is not the U.S. government under Biden. Under Biden, we're weak. We're very weak. Under Bibi over there in Israel, Netanyahu, he is a strong leader. Israel is strong. The people are strong. And the Hamas punks, terrorists, and cowards are going to be taught a very, very, very definitive lesson, I believe, within the next 48 to 72 hours. Nobody's going to be willing to sit down and negotiate now. Nobody. In fact, I don't believe you don't sit down with terrorists and negotiate. Problem with the United States under Biden is, well, let's sit down, guys. Let's just sit around the table and have a discussion. Well, there's no more room for a discussion. I'm going to tell you something, folks. I'm a hawk by nature. Some of you wouldn't believe that. I'm a Republican conservative, but a hawk when it comes to the defense of the United States of America, our allies, Israel, Canada, and other close allies around the nation. We need to stand up and fight. We need to get involved in this military action. Now, one might say, oh, yeah, but Lieutenant, you've been talking about Ukraine and how we need to get involved in that war. We need to get out of Ukraine. Yeah, we need to get out and get out now because our closest ally in the Mideast is in trouble. And we need to let the Israelis know that we are ready, willing, and able to use our military in order to defend them. Because I'll tell you what, folks, defending them is defending us. Believe me, I know that part of the world, the geopolitics there, it's like a powder keg ready to explode. But it has been the Israelis that have been able to keep that war from exploding. And those Jewish people in Israel, and I know many around the world, they got to take a lot of garbage as a result of this country under Biden not standing up for the nation of Israel and for the Jewish people in this country. Believe me, folks, there's a lot I could say about that, and perhaps at some other time we will. But we're going to focus in on Israel. So now you've got missiles and gliders and bombs and ground troops, if you will, from these terrorists coming into Israel. And Israel is now at least doing the best they could to hold them back. And I believe is going to respond very, very, very dramatically within the next 72 hours. But think about the $6 billion to Iran. Think about what was going on in Iran's minds. But what happened here, I don't know. We have sources that work with intelligence agencies that get information that certainly we talk to, we collaborate with. Nothing secret, things that are out in the open, but not too many people know where to find it. But the questions are, what happened? Is it an intelligence failure on the part of Israel? Is it an intelligence failure on the part of allies? Somebody had to know something. I'm trying to wrap my arms around how does a bunch of thugs, Hamas, get 5,000 missiles and nobody knows about it? I mean, that's unbelievable, folks. How's it hang gliders actually just easy, right under the radar, folks, right into the country? And these guys with guns land and start slaughtering people. How does this happen? Well, I don't have the answer, but I believe the answer will soon come. And by the way, folks, again, just for the fact checkers out there, Facebook fact checkers, Facebook police, I'm going to just share something that I want to make sure that you understand is not a fact yet, but it is a question. All right. It is a question regarding how, where, and when the weapons of warfare ended up into the hands of Hamas. Where did those weapons come from? There is a report, not confirmed. All right. And I'm not doing this to spread a rumor, but it's a question now out there in the public. There is a report that somehow, some way, Ukraine may be connected to where some of these weapons ended up. I don't know that as fact. I hope it's not true. But if it is, if we find out that our weapons went to Ukraine to fight the Russians, and some of them ended up in the hands of those thugs, those punks, those cowards, Hamas, well, then something has got to be done very quickly and dramatically. I've had it with Ukraine, folks. I've had it with Ukraine. And now we got a situation where our closest ally is in deep, deep trouble. There are fears and concerns. Now you got Hamas coming in, the country of Israel from the south. You got Hezbollah and others maybe scratching their heads thinking, well, this may be an opportunity to strike Israel from the north. And then we've got another problem. Now, I want you to think about this, folks. This has been on my mind. Exactly, we got two problems. This has been on my mind since this happened. I wonder what President Xi is doing in China right now. He's watching this closely. He's watching the U.S. response. And you know what, folks? This guy, President Xi, another thug and punk and coward sitting on his communist throne in China. You know, I don't normally talk like this, but I'm angry, and I'm sure you are. So forgive me for being angry. In fact, don't forgive me for being angry. I'm human. But anyway, the fact of the matter is that this guy sitting on his throne in China, he may be scratching his head saying, well, the weak Americans are busy with Ukraine and Russia. Now they're going to be busy with Israel. Well, guess what we're going to do? Taiwan, folks, Taiwan. I'm really concerned about that. I'm really concerned that this may be the hour, the day, the minute that the Chinese Communist Party's been waiting for. We don't know that, but knowing the mind of these people, I'm sure they're scratching their heads thinking about that. And then we have maybe even a bigger problem closer to home. Now, I want you to think about this. You got a secure border in Israel, right? And you've got these terrorists, these thugs coming over, all right, doing a lot of damage, slaughtering and killing people, missiles coming over, an invasion, right? Well, think about this one. In the United States, for a year, maybe 2 years now, we've been welcoming a lot of illegals across our southern border. The blue cities that are now crying out, please help, please help. Well, they've welcomed them. You know, the sanctuary cities, the sanctuary states. Come on in, guys. Come on in. We're going to give you everything you need. Meanwhile, again, for the fact checkers, no, this is fact, but I believe this, that a lot of those people that came across our southern borders are terrorists. And I believe that they belong to cells. And I believe for maybe 2 years, they've been perhaps organizing to do what? To do what? To do to us what they have done to Israel today. Maybe we won't see hand gliders. Maybe we won't see missiles. But boy, I'll tell you, we might see some of these suicide bombers go to work. This has not only been my concern and fear, but I can tell you it's been the concern and fear of a lot of people that have their heads on straight in this country, that work in the intelligence community. And yet we still have people in this United States of America who are belonging to a party. And look, I'm not going to try to make this too political, but in one sense it is. But they belong to a Democrat Party that embraces the illegals coming across the border, embraces them. Mayor Eric Adams is in Washington crying day in and day out. Oh, please help us with these illegals. Well, you may not need any help, because when some of them, not all of them, but when those who are connected maybe to some terrorist organization, you won't have a city left to worry about. All brought on because of who? Biden and that White House. A weak America, folks. See what happens? A weak America. Teddy Roosevelt said when he was president, a strong America deters violence not only here, but around the world. Ronald Reagan said the same thing. Peace through strength. Donald Trump said the same thing. You got to be tough. You got to be strong. And you got to be ready to back up your words. And the way I believe we need to back up our words is to not only say, well, you know, we've got your back, Israel. We're standing by you. No, we've got to stand side by side, and we've got to launch a massive military retaliatory strike on Hamas, on Hezbollah, on every living terrorist in this world. I believe that. And we might as well throw Iran in there because they're the instigators of all this. What really bothers me, folks, is that during the Iraqi war, look, I was in the Navy, Desert Storm. I was in during Operation Noble Eagle and Desert Shield. I was in the military all that period of time. And I remember every day during these wars, you would hear about Americans being killed by IEDs, improvised explosives. All right, folks, IEDs. And guess who built them? Guess who built them? Iran. And they're proud of it. Iran's proud of it. They'll go out and say, yeah, you know, we used your money to make weapons to kill your people. And yet we have an administration that is sitting there in Washington, D.C. saying, don't worry about it, folks. Don't worry about it. And how about our friends, our closest neighbors in Canada? You know what? I don't know how many of these individuals, these possible terrorists went into Canada. I don't know. They got a prime minister up there who's maybe sitting with Xi in Beijing for all we know. I mean, him and Biden, Trudeau and Biden, they need to get their act together. in my view, again, for the fact checkers, in my view, Justin Trudeau and Joe Biden should be thrown out of office by the people as soon as they could. As soon as they could. I always say within the legally and within the framework of the laws of our lands, they need to be voted out of office. And if they are not removed, all right, before they do all the damage within the framework of our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, our Declaration of Independence, our Constitution, then you know what, folks? They ought to be removed by the Parliament in Canada, and they ought to be removed by the Congress here in the United States. There's always a way. There's always a way. Our countries are founded on legal methods, legal ways to remove people from office that are causing more damage than good to us. And I've always advocated that. They need to go. Look at what's happening. Look at what's happening as a result of Joe Biden and his buddy up there in Ottawa. And he's got a few other buddies around the world that seem to be cozying up to him. But looks like Germany is kind of backing off. Poland, they don't want to have anything to do with Ukraine anymore. And we can go on and on. So that whole alliance is beginning to split up. So anyway, we got all this going on today. And I talked to you about what the response of the United States of America should be. Listen, like I said, I'm a hawk. I know I'm going to get criticized. And by the way, before I go on, when I tweeted some things out last night and then this morning started to read the responses, you guys and gals who are sending me Palestinian flags, death to Israel, death to America, don't bother sending them, all right? They just get deleted, all right? You're taking up some room. You're taking up room where we got real people who are truly concerned about their national security, all right? You all are not concerned about anything but serving your own interests. I have absolutely no respect for you. No respect for you. In fact, understand this. You have already been condemned by NATO. You've been condemned by the UN. You've been condemned by the European Union. You've been condemned all over the earth, all over the earth. And here's something else to think about. You know what? You're going to be condemned until you're gone, okay? Because I think the entire planet is now fed up with all of that, what's going on with Islamic terrorism, with all the Hamas misdeeds, Hezbollah, and any other terrorist organization. You need to go. You need to go. And the only way to get rid of you is to speak your language, missiles and bombs. You want to sit down and negotiate a peace, land transfers? Ain't going to work. Never going to work. You don't negotiate with terrorists. So this is what's been going on. Now, this morning, the Israeli ambassador was on the air here in the United States, and it was very horrific what he described. He said that there were Hamas terrorists went into some of the communities, perhaps a community like the ones we live in. They broke down doors. They shot people, and they shot parents in front of their children. They shot children in front of their parents. They shot dogs and cats. They slaughtered and tortured elderly people. And then they went to the next house, and the next house, and the next house. These are not human beings. They're animals. These terrorists are animals. And you know what, folks? The whole world needs to know that. And I'm going to tell you something else. The Israeli ambassador said something that struck a chord with me, because I've been very, very involved with the Jewish community. I've been very, very involved that the words never again, well, it happened again, but they got to make sure that this is the last time it happens. So as all this is going on, we need to do a few things, and we need to do them quickly in this country. One, we need to make sure that every Jewish house of worship is protected. We also need to understand that not every Muslim, folks, not every Muslim is a bad person. All right. I've got friends who are Muslims. So keep in mind that there are Muslims in America, I'm sure in Canada and around the world, who are as upset as we are. But the Muslims I'm talking about, and also, by the way, keep in mind that the Muslims that they're not the only ones involved, all right, that in terrorist organizations. There are people from all faiths, from all backgrounds. It just so happens that it's in the part of the world where the Islamic terrorists are causing this problem. So let's make sure that we don't paint a broad brush. All right. And I've said that during the war. We got to make sure that we protect all of the decent, loving people, Jewish, Muslim, Catholic, Protestant, right down the line. Keep that in mind. And by the way, this is important with regards to children, You see a child, a Jewish child who's being taunted, a Muslim child being taunted, well, then you need to step in and put a stop to that. You need to put a stop to that. But in the meantime, we have to respond. We, the people of the United States, have to respond. What Canada does, well, what other countries of the free world do, that's going to be up to their leaders. But we in the United States have to respond. We have to help Israel and make sure that we exterminate this terrorism off the face of the earth. No good for anybody. So my question is this, folks. My question is this. What next? What next here in America? I really mean it. What next? After 2.5 years of watching tens of thousands of people cross our border unchecked, having them transported to major cities, well, causes you to think a little bit really, really hard as to what's next. So let's hope we don't find the answer to that question soon. Let's make sure if there's anything that's going on that is going to hurt America or Canada or any place here in North America or any place around the world, that we work together to put a stop to it. But that's what we need to do, folks. All right? We need to do that. And I've always said, look, we never forget we need to pray. We pray, always pray for peace, pray for protection, pray that God Almighty somehow gets involved in this. And helps us as humans obtain the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding we need to stop this. That's absolutely we need to stop this. So that's it, folks. I felt compelled to come on. I've been on for 23 minutes. Didn't expect to come on now. And maybe what I did was vent a little myself. I've been on some of the news media outlets today, and I thought that the least I could do is come on and talk to you in a real way, all right, with no prompters or anything like that, but in a real way from here and here to let you know that this is the way I feel, and I'm sure the way you feel that way, and I know millions of Americans feel that way. We don't know we're going to wake up to tomorrow, don't we? But we can do this. Before we go to bed tonight, hug your child, hug your spouse, just hug everybody you can, kiss them, tell them you love them, because we don't know what we're going to wake up to tomorrow. And always know, despite what we see, despite what we hear, there's a God above. I've always said that. And I don't say this because I want to fill time. I say there is a God above watching over all of us. And I'm sure somehow, some way, he will be involved. He'll be involved, and justice will be served on the bad guys, and he will lift up the good guys. That's it, folks. Thanks so much. God bless you all. Maybe I'll be on tomorrow, the next day, but I'm going to stay on top of this. Those of you in Canada, again, I know a lot of your news media outlets are not are blocking or banning a lot of this stuff, but we're going to get to you as long as we could, and we're going to hope to God that all goes well. Stay protected, stay close to the Lord, stay close to your family, but just remember, okay, that we're all in this together. All right, we're all in this together. And again, I cannot overemphasize the fact that we need to make sure that everyone, whether you're Jewish, whether you're Muslim, whether you're Catholic, whether you're Protestant, white, black, whatever, everyone from all walks of life who love peace and freedom, need to be protected by all of us who can't protect them. Thank you, folks. God bless you. See you soon. Have a good weekend, at least the best you can. I'm Lieutenant Stephen Rogers.